Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. How y'all doing this evening? We got a lot to talk about. A lot of exciting things that have been showing up on different videos and live streams. A lot of speculation, a lot of anticipation, as usual. Let me see who we've got in the chats here. Oh, we got everybody coming in. Hi, Bubba. Ha ha. Hi, Mountain Man. You said 9 p.m. I'll be darned. Let's see. Rocksteady, how are you doing? I will continue to support you. Don't sugarcoat it. Keep being who you are. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to put you. I wonder if that'll fit on the screen. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Rocksteady, you're on screen. Wanda's going to be back at 9. Hello, how you doing, Red? You can go to the Hello America channel. Have some fun out of life. Hi, Wanda. Sin. Hi, everybody. Let me get it right into what's going on here. Since everybody's showing up, I was trying to figure out how to do these scheduled broadcasts, and it's just a process where I got to put it together and get it done right. I'm having a sip of my coffee. I got a little sore throat, but I'll be okay. And let me see how everybody's doing. Hey, Red did a little broadcast today covering some of the things I was talking about. I'm going to talk about. There's been a video that a lot of us have seen. I think he's got, if not 70,000, he's by now, I'm pretty sure he's got 70,000 views, discussing a case which has been described as a lawsuit. But it is basically a petition. Someone has petitioned the Supreme Court, and I discussed that in earlier live streams. A litigant who had gone pro se in front of the court, and that means without an attorney. And from what I understand on this situation, this is something similar that has been filed by attorneys. So, as I mentioned in the past, there are petitions going to the Supreme Court all the time. So, this one, from what I understand from the video I saw, was that they have agreed to meet about it. They have agreed basically to see whether they will agree to hear the case, if that makes sense. And that was supposed to have happened today. Hello, Nikki B. Hello, Susie. Hi, Quilt. And Philo's here. Warrior for What's Right. How you doing, buddy? Hi, Brett. Wanda, thank you for buying me a coffee. I appreciate you doing that for me, honey. And I appreciate everybody, Aaron. And everybody that's going to the Buy Me a Coffee link. I'm trying to scroll through this and not have the phone drop off the table here. Hey, Hansbro. Nice to meet you. So anyway, so good luck trying to find something on this by going either to DuckDuckGo or the other service that we use. We're basically all pretty much going off of what we have heard on the internet. And the story is that the petitioner has claimed that the House of Representatives, once they got a lawful complaint, a complaint that was duly recorded and lawfully presented, that the House is supposed to take and schedule and conduct a 10-day review of the complaint. So that is by statute required by law. And as we know, laws are passed when a bill is introduced in the House of Representatives, then it's sent to the Senate, who checks it, revises, recommends, whatever, sends it back to the House, and then if the House passes it after Senate review and the president signs it, it becomes law. So this law stating upon receipt of a valid complaint that it is to be reviewed by Congress for 10 days. It didn't happen. They didn't review it. That is the claim of the plaintiff before the Supreme Court, and it is being accepted, according to these reports, as a matter of national emergency, an issue that concerns national security. So today, the Supreme Court agreed to all 9 justices are going to look at this petition. They've agreed to look at it, and they will vote, or supposedly have voted, as to whether they will decide. They voted that they will decide whether they. I don't know. I tried to find reports on it. I don't know if not rumors, but an actual report as to what happened. Was the hearing delayed? Did it actually occur? What was the vote? Try to find something on it. Maybe someone has. I'll check the chats in a second. But I will say this. The report was that they only need 4 out of the 9 justices to agree to review the case. And then it would go on to a more formal study by the full Supreme Court, all 9 justices. So that was supposed to have happened today, and I'm going to get on with what is the speculation in a minute, but I want to see the chats. If anybody's gotten some kind of late word, so I won't go talking without. Hi, Wicked Trillium. Hi, Poppy. Poppy Two Bears. Hi, Georgia. How you doing? I had my camera on earlier today, but I don't think anybody could see me. I looked at the thing. I said, holy cow. I scared myself. Let's see. Red said something. You have the previously filed paperwork. Okay, Red. So I'm sure you can look at it and see what I'm saying is pretty much got it down to the nuts and bolts. Okay, let me see. So anyway, so we have to see if 4 of the 9 justices said, well, we're going to take a look at this. Or did they say, well, no, we're not. Now, this gentleman who did his broadcast was relying on some information a friend sent him that was reporting on what the attorneys who filed this complaint were contending. And they were contending that if the Supreme Court decided that the Congress did not fulfill their duties under the law, the lawyers believed that the Supreme Court has the authority. Oh, my coffee's ready. The Supreme Court has the authority, supposedly, to remove these Congress people in the amount of, I think they said 340 people. There, I've got my device on a stand now. Yes, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Thank you. So these lawyers reportedly believe that the Supreme Court could theoretically today, since this is what a issue that's considered been described in the past by some as a black letter of the law issue, you either have to do this or you don't have to, and if you didn't and you have to, you have ignored the law. And so they could, in theory, say all 9 of them say today, you're right, they didn't do a required review, and the desired action by the lawyers filing the petition is to remove all 340 representatives, which would be about half the Republicans and daggone near all the Democrats out of Congress, and get the Secret Service along with the U.S. Marshals to basically remove these officials, decertify them, or take their credentials away from them. And that is a big hot story. Thank you, Nikki, for putting that link in there. I appreciate it. So that is what I want to talk about, because it is, once again, where everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are on that roller coaster, going up and up and up, big expectations, and then getting let down. In between time, they talk to their friends, they talk to people they want to get to understand the crisis that we've been in, the constitutional crisis. And they say, the Supreme Court's going to throw out Congress and reinstate Trump. That was the other thing. They were going to reinstate Trump. And what happens if that doesn't happen? What happens to our credibility? It goes south. Goes south. And what happens to our psychological readiness to continue with this, as I refer to it, a battle? We're weakened, okay? Demoralized. Now, am I saying that scenario could never happen? No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying that you have to weigh, we have to weigh what's being requested, what is the complaint, what are the remedies. Could the Supreme Court say, all right, Congress, you did this, you ignored this law, and you didn't do a 10-day review. Since this is a national emergency, we're ordering you now to conduct a 10-day review. Don't you think that is a card in the deck? Because, not to get off topic at all, this is on topic. I talk to people that tell me so-and-so's already been in jail. So-and-so has already been tried. So-and-so has had the ultimate punishment, and they're using a person in a disguise or a clone or this and that. But then the very same person the next day would say, nothing is happening, we're never going to get out of this. That's kind of like people that say we never landed on the moon, and 6 months later we've got moon bases. So there's a truth in there somewhere. So that's what I'm trying to look at here, and I want everybody to look at. Take a walk down fantasy lane and say you are responsible as a Supreme Court justice to administer justice, and you know that a ruling like I'm talking about, taking 340 members of Congress out and the president and the vice president, would cause civil unrest, correct? And also, you could look in the Constitution, and I did a mental review of the Constitution, and I don't see any clause in there that says that of the three branches of government, the Supreme Court has the right to decapitate any branch of government, the executive branch or the Congress. I don't see that. I don't see where they can remove the credentials and order any law enforcement body to do anything against the other two branches. So, am I saying that it's totally impossible? No. Courts have reversed elections quite a few times and been upheld. So they are a possibility. But if you are a member of the Supreme Court and you have a duty to maintain a civil society and to support and defend the Constitution, wouldn't remanding, the term remanding, I've heard that in legal terms, I've heard that in courtrooms, I've heard that in sheriff's offices, where things get remanded back. Would you not remand this back to the Congress with explicit instructions or an order to conduct the review that you were remiss in conducting? Wouldn't that make more sense? And then the ball would be in their court by court order. Let me see what's going on in the chats. Cindy, how you doing, honey? Let me put that up. Let me read it first. Agreed. This constant misinformation is frustrating and deliberate to keep us from taking action. Well, we are taking action, honey. We swamped them, and we're making them look ridiculous every day. I'm seeing Wanda's got, hi, Mike, how you doing? Hi, Robin. Robin, thank you, honey, for supporting me. I appreciate that. I hope you all get my messages when I send them out to you. I'll buy me a coffee. If I send them out from the Google alerts, I can't find them in the, I just go straight to the app from now on. I want to thank Norm, too. See all who was in here. I didn't see Norm yet. I saw Aaron earlier. Hi, Tennessee. So anyway, another thing to ponder is this. Trump has said numerous times, we're at war, right? And I take that for what it means. And this has been, he said that 3 years ago. And I never heard that there was an end to the war, a victory or armistice or a ceasefire or nothing. As far as I'm concerned, we're just like what President Trump said. We're at war. Now, that being the case, and then taking in consideration what I said earlier, where people have said that certain people have already been arrested and even saying that they've been tried and convicted and punished, and that we're seeing fake people in their place. Now, to go from that thinking to nothing's happening, we're not getting anywhere, that is very unsettled thinking. You have to have settled thinking in your mind. So, my settled thoughts are that we're at war. I know there's two parallel systems of justice, a military justice system and a civilian justice system headed up by the Supreme Court. Wouldn't you find it very plausible that the Supreme Court is in consultation with the members of the military justice system to make sure whatever rulings they make are in comportment with the laws of war? Of course, I think that's the case. I think there's cooperation, coordination, liaisons, discussions about the law, as is their right to do. What is the first law of war? Humanity. Humanity is first law of war. And let me see. Let me put this up. Let me see if this banner will go up for me. Let me see. There we go. SCOTUS focus. And then in capital letters, I put focus, just like the 17th letter drop. Put it in capital letters, focus. Black letter of the law, first law of armed conflict, humanity. Okay, folks? First law of war is humanity. So, given that precept, I'm going to leave that up for a bit. Given that precept, doing what this person is saying, rounding up 340 members of Congress, removing Joe Biden and removing Kamala Harris, is not in comportment with the first law of war, which is to maintain a civil society. Congress is going into a holiday recess. Congress is getting ready to change hands. Why? Why take such drastic action? And would that be in comportment with the laws of war? No, it would not be, in my opinion. So it makes more sense to me that the court, if they decide to even hear the case, because they may say to themselves, well, we've got a very similar case we're going to hear that will cover this also, so we won't listen to this case right now, because we've got another one that has got stronger points and covers more of what we want to cover. They don't want to do redundant cases. But if they were to agree to hear it, I think they would kick it back to the Congress with some very explicit instructions. Timing is very important. And with the Congress getting ready to change hands, we get into sticky wicket of what can a new Congress do about something a old Congress did not do. Well, as we've seen in the current Congress, they have done investigative committees. One that is very prominent, that has been winning court cases for arresting people, for seizing their property or their phones, for getting their tax returns. Adam Schiff even bugged other members of Congress's telephones and the press. They set all these precedents themselves. So, in my mind, I feel confident that this being accepted as a matter of a national emergency, I feel confident that the Supreme Court is consulting with their military counterparts, and whatever timing is going to fit in with keeping our society safe and pursue any criminal activity, and also follow the Constitution while doing that. Do you guys feel that I'm approaching this from a rational perspective? That we should not focus on if it would feel good to see a bunch of people marched off by the military? If that were to happen, though, you have to remember, once that high wears off, it will sink into us that we had to give our control to unelected military leaders. And I feel that the military is keeping that in mind by playing this drama out so that when it plays out, we can say that we meted out the justice. We used our system and maintained control of our own system and brought about a desired result. And we're going to go through this rocky road, these frustrations, this aggravation. We're going to go through a lot more deprivation. Why? Because when it's all over with, we have to have it put in our brains that this can never happen again. How did we get to this point where we have a coordinated group, 340 of them, that knowingly ignored the law and did not do a review of a valid complaint and walked around with a straight face? Not only that, went further to create a situation where 600 people would be in jail for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, on specious charges. And you know everything that goes along with that. The hidden videotapes, the staged testimony and phony stories. How did it get that way where the media backs it up? And to this day, talking about 5 Capitol police officers were killed because of what happened, when we know 4 of them committed suicide well after the event, and then a 5th one died from an unrelated brain aneurysm at his own home watching TV. We've got to tell this story to other people. And the Supreme Court taking such action as was in the video I just discussed would take the focus, at the capital letter focus, off of all that and put it on whether or not we are still functioning under a constitutional republic or a military junta. These are the deeper thoughts we have to think, rather than the momentary joy of seeing a bunch of bums and criminals perp walked out of the Congress. They'll get their perp walk. They'll go down in history as bums and criminals. But we've got to go through our process. And our Supreme Court needs to work with the military justice system, since, in my mind, we are in a state of war. Let me see what's going on in the chats. Well, I tell you, we should all be feeling better, Cindy. You also, that these things are, let me tell you, if you're one of them criminals, you're not sleeping good. Just because we can't see on the surface what's going on under the water. Yes, Robin, thank you so much. Hit the like button, share and subscribe. And I hope a lot of you got to see my video last night. So I want to, I talked to Nikki, and I also talked to another friend of mine. I gave an example of how we need to talk to our friends when everybody went to, not everybody, when certain people went to Dallas, when thousands of people, tens of thousands of people were talking to their friends about DOD 11.3, the year's up and we're going to kick out Joe Biden and reinstate Trump, and it all fell on its face. And that's when I did my first video with Red about, no, that is not what this means. We don't want to get back in that situation where our friends go, well, you're wrong again. Boy, you're really radical. You're really talking a way to overthrow the government. You don't want to do that. So the analysis that we just did together of what are the options of the Supreme Court? They could not even hear this case because they've got one even bigger coming. They could decide to hear it, and you can see a scenario where they say 9-0. They all agree. Yes, you all did not perform your duties. We're remanding it back to you to perform a public review of the complaint and the evidence supporting the complaint. This is ordered unanimously by the court. BAP! And they hit the gavel. You've got the whole spectrum of anywhere from the LGBTQ crowd on one end of the Supreme Court, all the way over to the conservative side, all in agreement. There needs to be a review, and it needs to be public, and it needs to be 10 days. Could that be the 10 days of darkness? I don't know. But how could the media ignore that ruling? They couldn't. They have to report on it. If they're ordered to do a public hearing and air the evidence of the complaint publicly, how could they say no? And if that ruling comes from the court after January 3rd, when there is a new leadership in the House that will agree with the court. So you have three branches of government: the court, Congress, and the presidency. After January 3rd, you'll have the court agreeing 9-0. It needs to be a public review. The Congress agreeing, you're right, two branches of government. What is the third branch, the president, going to do? He can't say no. He can't stop it. So that may very well be in the cards, to put on a show that will make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show. Does that ring a bell, folks? That seems to me to be make them stew in their own juices. As I said before about a certain Mr. Paul Blobel, who was convicted in the Nuremberg trials. He had to sit and stew in his own juices. I see you sent me a text there, Red. I'm trying to see what it is. If you give me an overview of it. My phone is chirping. I apologize. I'm getting a text. Let me see. It's the docket. Okay, let me pull it up. I'll have to expand it. The government hereby waives. Oh my goodness. Let me see what this says. The government hereby waives its right to file a response to the petition in this case, unless requested to do so by the court. That is Raylan J. Brunson. That is, I believe, the pro se petitioner, Red, and the one we're talking about is one that was filed by a group of attorneys. And this says the government hereby waives its right to file a response to this petition unless requested to do so by the court. That's a filing on another case, which we could drive ourselves nuts looking at all the different filings on different petitions and everything by the court. I'm talking about the case that the court has agreed to take a look at today. What are they going to do? And I'm giving scenarios. Hi, Mark. How you doing? I'm giving scenarios as to what the court would do as far as a remedy. As I mentioned in past broadcasts, punishments, remedies, That's what courts are for, not to create laws, but what to do in the event of a violation of law or ignoring the law. And I also want to bring up real quick, because not a lot of you have heard my other broadcasts, but I mentioned specifically about when Hermann Goring, he was in the equivalent of the Congress in Germany, the Reichstag. He willingly ignored, and this is part of his conviction, part of the evidence that convicted him of defrauding the German people over control of their government. He ignored an order by the president to close down temporarily the Reichstag. While the chancellor was delivering the order on the floor of the Reichstag, shouting it out, the president has ordered you to stop, lawfully ordered you. He acted like he did not hear the man. He proceeded with what he was doing. They have a film of him doing it. And the Reichstag passed laws that put the Nazis party in power. And they stole power from the lawful government at that time. And that's one of the things, the bits of evidence that got him convicted, where he suffered, was sentenced to the ultimate fate, but he committed suicide the night before and cheated the hangman. So he ignored a responsibility under the Constitution, the German Constitution, and seized power. So that may very well be the way how things are looked at right now. Hi, Warrior Force, right? So what I was going to do with Nikki B was a review of some of the drops and how to read them, and one of the most recent drops. And you see I have two words on my banner that come straight from the job: focus, and then in capital letters, focus. Okay? We focus on what's real, what is in the Constitution, what President Trump has said about whether or not we're at war, what the laws of war are, and what are the reasonable remedies for this situation that keeps in mind the first most law of war, which is the least loss of life, humanity. And so what I'm describing, I think, is, it may not come to that. They may come up with something completely different. But I'm saying if I were in a situation, a historic situation, the austere position of being a Supreme Court justice, I would not attempt to decapitate the government and order a new person installed and send marshals to arrest. No, that is a certain recipe for civil unrest and violence. So I don't know who this guy is that did that video. I've never seen his videos before. I haven't seen any competing videos. He'll probably, I don't know how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of views he'll get, but I want as many people I can reach to be able to say, that's a little too crazy. But the victory is that we know it's being looked at in the highest levels. Now, if the Constitution is not followed, I said it in the past, the military will not step in until and unless, if ever, only when every opportunity to exercise our civil government, for them to exercise their responsibilities and discharge their duties, has been exhausted, and they are unable or unwilling to function in the manner as they are intended. That is when you have action. So this is going through a constitutional process, a lawful process, and I believe it is under the coordination and the supervision of the military justice system. This is historic. This has to stand in the history books for literally hundreds of years, that the people involved are doing what's best for this nation, what's best for this Constitution, and what's best for humanity. Well, hi, Mark. Tyranny has to be abolished by the people. That's true. And that is what we're doing it. Lori Seltzer, the video was about a case the Supreme Court has agreed to look at today concerning whether or not the Congress was remiss in its responsibilities by not reviewing lawful complaints. This is not a case of deciding whether there was a problem with what happened on what we do in November every 4 years. That's not what the case is about. The case is about whether the Congress fulfilled its obligations under the law, or did they ignore the law? Okay, that's what this is about. And then going back to the beginning of the video, could get you up to speed on it. So anyway, I'm just looking at the comments here. Yeah, Wanda, we were going to do one. We were going to do a show. Who knows what the future brings? Hi, Mike C. How you doing? If I say hi to somebody twice, it's because I'm old. So anyway, let me see if anybody's got any questions for Mountain Man. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can hit that. No, I can't do it on this one. I could make bombs go off and make question marks pop up. I got to do that on a different program here. No, as I was saying, I forgot. If you want to build credibility, tell your friends that today is the last day that they're going to be pilfering from the strategic petroleum reserves, and that gas prices are going to go up. So in the morning, when you go get your cup of coffee, fill up your gas tank, and fill up the Mrs. gas tank, and Junior's gas tank, and Sissy, if they're going to college and they got their own cars. You better go ahead and fill it up, because in short order, it's going to fight it more. Proven right about that. You have to be proven. Supreme Court, Biden, and all this stuff. With what we know is going to happen. Trump said the American people haven't felt it, but they're going to feel it. So there isn't going to be some kind of relief from this situation we're dealing with at the snap of a finger. We've got a long march. We've got a long march. I was breaking up because, am I still breaking up because I'm getting text messages? Okay, hold on. How about that? Let's see. I was getting text messages, and that kind of messes me up. Okay, I see you breaking up. How is it sounding now, folks? Now, 5x5, good. All right, I just shut the phone off where I wouldn't be getting those text messages. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so anyway, like I said, baby steps with stuff we know is real, we know is happening, and understanding that we're not dealing with a bunch of dummies at the Supreme Court. We're not dealing with a bunch of dummies in the military justice system, and they're going to be handling this stuff and timing it in a way that's going to be of the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people. Digital Hawk, happy Thanksgiving. Now give us all your money. I'll put that up there. There you go, Digital Hawk. You get your 15 minutes of fame. That's right. That's right, Lori. Fill up some gas cans too. And like I said, it's going to happen. What did Trump predict? $8, $9, $10 gas? When did he ever predict something didn't come true? And you know, all the things that we discuss that bother us morally, that have been bothering us morally, unfortunately, for a large percent of the population, 30 or 40%, they could care less. But what they do care about is their wallets, okay? Their own personal losses. Nobody cares unless their ox is getting gored, right? So if you tell this recalcitrant neighbor, you give them this little inside stock tip to fill up their gas tank, and you turn out to be right, you'll be more credible. And in the future, when we have videos where people say, this is going to happen and that's going to happen and these people are going to be removed, and that you temper your thinking and approach it the same way I have. What would you do if you were on the Supreme Court and you were responsible? Could you imagine how you would feel if you were responsible as a person of good faith, a person of faith? You made the decision that caused people to lose their lives in the streets or buildings to be burned down. Why would you do something that radically historic when Congress is recessed for holidays anyway? And let me tell you, if they did do that, if they did feel there was something, any law enforcement body felt that there was something that egregious, they could do it over the recess. They could detain people over the recess, like was intimated 2 Christmases ago, that Adam Schiff might have spent a little time in a cell around Christmas time and then got let out. I don't know. Because it's not them. Okay, Robin. Come back and check us out later, baby. Hey, Jax. So anyway, let me see. The other thing that is at play here, I'm in a way glad this kind of talk is going around a little bit, because it would have the demons worried. They can go to bed at night wondering, is the Secret Service going to knock on their door? But in reality, I want people to feel that what's being done is done lawfully. I want the people to be informed why something is being done. I want them to understand and be shown the proof. And we'll get what we want. We'll get what we should be getting. We will get justice. Patience. Patience is a virtue. Archie Bunker said something else I won't repeat. But anyway, they can remand it back to the Congress. I just don't know if they would wait till there's a new Congress being sworn in. And I said to keep an eye open for what this Justice Department might be trying to do. Like when they removed that Bob McDonnell from the governorship in Virginia using specious charges, when they removed a senator from Alaska by using specious charges that were all overturned after they lost the election. That is one way of manipulating elections, is to charge somebody or harass them, much like what we're seeing is happening to DJT right now. And election interference is what? National security. Who's in charge of national security? The military. Okay? So you see this pattern of senators being removed, governors being removed, presidents being raided by a CABAL. And that word is going to be the next one that's going to cause problems for people, content creators. Cabal. Because it doesn't always mean some mystical secret lizard group. A cabal is a group of criminals, coordinated criminals. They don't have to be, shift changing, mind melding, mystical things. They're just bums and criminals that are gotten together with high IQs. Echoes from the mountain. Mike's. So let's see. I'll put Mike up. There's an echo, yoo-hoo, in the valley, yoo-hoo, and it brings back sweet memories of you. How many of y'all remember that? Jeanette McDonald, Nelson Eddy. How many of you remember that? I bet Robin would remember, but she already left. I see what you're saying there, Jax. I've already watched it, buddy. The NWO, Lori. Well, we're going to, everybody's going to get their day in court. That's what this country is all about. We're not, let me see, I saw a good posting on Truth Social from someone I consider my friend. He probably doesn't even know I exist, but I've been watching him for years. And he put up a meme with a caution. Somebody put up a meme that said, an enemy of President Trump is an enemy of mine. Well, beware, okay? Beware, lest you become like the very enemy you're fighting. And that type of meme, when you see that type of meme where you say, an enemy of Trump is an enemy of mine, division, hinting at violence, ignore that meme, because stuff like that can be installed, just like the KILL brackets. That kind of verbiage can be installed in our lexicon to make us appear combative and that we cannot heal as a nation. So if you see a meme like that, don't give it a heart or a like and make a comment that it is going to come time to bind the nation's wounds, and that a house divided cannot stand. Those words are eternal. A house divided cannot stand is straight out of the Bible. And we want our house to stand. Let me see what else I saw. Elon Musk tweeted out, I'm fine with Trump not tweeting. The important thing is Twitter is correct. That Twitter correct a grave mistake in banning his account, despite no violation of the law or terms of service. Deplatforming a sitting president undermined public trust in Twitter for half of America. And they lost a bullhorn on that one, a big bullhorn. So I am going to get a Twitter account, and I am going to sign up to follow DJT, even if he doesn't tweet, because I tell you what people are going to do. They're going to go through all of DJT's past tweets and retweet them, because a lot of them are prescient today. But I've tried to look up the Supreme Court case, and I took a screenshot of what was coming up. The Supreme Court upholds release of Trump's tax returns to House Democrats. You know, and then a bunch of cases about some fishermen asking the U.S. Supreme Court to stop the federal government from making them do something. You know, anything but what we're talking about. So we're not getting any news on this. We're not getting any news on this. And they are called news services for a reason. They're not providing us with service. And that is going to be looked at very strongly. As Trump said, that's the first thing that needs to be taken care of is this media. And none of that has happened. So the business of 340 representatives being removed and Kamala and Joe being removed is not in the cards, okay? I tell you, Biden announced that students don't have to make their payments while he's appealing the Supreme Court stuff. They're openly defying the court in more than one way. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But this 9-0 pillow talk is what I was going to put in the title. 9-0 pillow talk. It may very well come to pass that it'll be a 9-0 decision to kick it back to Congress and make them do what they're required to do by law and to do it publicly. And won't that be a show? So I wrote down some 17th letter posts I want to go over. I'll tell you just for fun. Nah, I better not do that. I'll do it where I can explain them a little better because people don't focus. That's what the last post said. And I was watching a show where a person was trading out the timestamp, trying to decipher the number of the post, looking up, things. Focus on what the post says from now on. No going down rabbit holes. Focus on the posts, and I'll get into that more deeper. And it will clear your mind, and you will see. You'll go to bed feeling good instead of saying, "Damn it, we're in trouble. We're never going to get out of it." But I'm going to talk about Brazil real quick. There's a lot of video on the internet of some military hardware being moved around. And as I talked about last night, the Supreme Court gave the party for Bolsonaro's 24 hours to give them evidence, to give the Supreme Court evidence of what they are discussing, why they should overturn or annul the election. And power is supposed to change hands. It's either January 1st or January 3rd. So there's a clock that's ticking awful loudly. And today was the deadline for the party to give the Supreme Court evidence supporting annulment of the election. And at the same time, there's some serious military hardware coming in towards the Capitol. Not fast, not overwhelming, not scary, but it is obvious that people are getting ready, okay? Because where does the soldier get his honor? by upholding the Constitution and the country he's fighting for and protecting the civilians. That's where they get their honor. Not going out as a mercenary to other countries, blowing up villages, like so many of our young people are doing right now. I won't get into that. That makes me mad. But anyway, so again, we are not getting a news service. We're not getting any reports on that. As a matter of fact, even trying to explore it on the web, the stuff is not present. They're going to tell me that there's no reporters in Brazil. There's no reporters from other countries in Brazil that are reporting. How come you can't pull the reports up on Google? Okay? Somebody is doing us a disservice. And if it is at the behest or direction of a foreign power, somebody's in big trouble. So we'll all keep that in mind. Now, as far as presidents in the past that have dealt with these kinds of threatened fractures of the Constitution or fractures in the normal course of doing business, the first time we had a problem was called the Whiskey Rebellion. That is a good read if you find a good historical account of it. The Whiskey Rebellion, George Washington physically got on a horse, gathered troops, and rode his horse to Pennsylvania from Virginia over this Whiskey Rebellion. He wasn't fooling around. And you can research that and read it yourself. But I'll spoil the story. When they heard Washington was on his horse coming with armed soldiers, the rebellion kind of fizzled out. Let's put it that way. The other thing was Andrew Jackson. We know that Mr. T likes to quote Andrew Jackson and keep his painting handy. Andrew Jackson in the 1840s was being confronted with discussions of secession. One of the main senators who was promoting secession was called John C. Calhoun. And this was about 20 years before the actual Civil War. And Andrew Jackson made no bones about it. He said anyone talking about breaking away from the Union was subject to the ultimate penalty. And when he was, his last words, when he was on his deathbed, he said there were two things he regretted. One was that a horse that he owned didn't win any major races. And the other thing he did regret was that he did not hang John C. Calhoun higher than Haman. And if you read the Bible about the story of Haman, some people spell H-A-A-M-A-N. Some people spell it H-A-M-A-A-N. But you can read that story about how somebody was trying to cause trouble for somebody else, and they found trouble for themselves. Let's see what's going on in the comments. I went off on a Bible tangent. We've been in this fight for a long time. I'll tell you what, folks. Having a calm mind and a rational view of events gives you a clearer picture, and that calms your mind. I have no doubt that we're going to come out on top, and this, not just this nation, but the world is going to get an education that is seldom seen. That's why they say it's going to be biblical. It's going to be a story that's going to be told through the ages. Let me see. All right, I'm just seeing what's going on here in the chats. So this is, as I say, it's going to be biblical. And biblical does not mean people losing their jobs. It does not mean people losing vacation time. It does not mean people getting a reprimand letter in their file. Okay? Because once we get through this, it paves the way to enact what Trump instituted in an executive order, Schedule F, which is going to be to give the federal government a figurative enema and rid itself of all this dead weight and Bolshevik bureaucrats that survive from administration to administration. But their goal and their responsibility is to weaken the Constitution and promote a communist philosophy. You don't think that doesn't exist? By the thousands, take a look at Jan Psaki. She's been in there through the Obama administration, the Trump administration, and after the Biden administration, working against a sitting president. And there's thousands of them in the bureaucracy. I've gone for an hour and 6 minutes, and I've covered the main thing. I do want to say that I'm going to get into Myanmar, and we have to also know that there were military takeovers. Africa's not putting up with this Western demonic anti-family cult business anymore. I showed videos where the president of Uganda, what his opinion of legalizing certain behaviors. In Rwanda, they flat out said, keep your foreign aid. We are not going to start teaching certain things to our children in schools. Okay? Well, you have Mali, MALI, Chad, and the Sudan have had militaries remove corrupt bureaucrats. And we all saw what happened in Myanmar. And if people don't really know about that, I will do a video about that in the future when I can put up videos and pictures. I have to go to a different place where I get a little better reception. It's a different type of platform. That's touchy for me, but I want to try to do that. But I want you also, if you're interested in let me tell you, if you don't know the history of things, it's going to be hard for you to understand what's, like Harry Truman said, you want to know the future? Read a history book. Look up Burma, and the Saffron Revolution, okay? This all led up to this Myanmar fiasco, okay? And that president was arrested and I believe convicted. And they're going to be scheduling elections. So we don't need, it's like General Flynn said, we don't need to do that. We've got ourselves. We got the American people, and we are awakening, and we're awakening our friends. And we will crush the enemy. We will crush these criminals, and they will be arrested. They will face justice. And that's what we have to keep in mind. And when it happens, we have to justify our actions before the world, and actions that will endure the test of time, history for hundreds of years. It will be inarguable that what happened needed to happen, what happened to certain people needed to happen, and that not just this country, but the world is going to be stronger for it. So anyway, I've taken up over an hour of your time, an hour and 10 minutes. Let me see the chats. That's right. Africa, Lori says, Africa is not going to be told by Western climate cultists. That's right. And let's remember, Uganda found $30 trillion worth of gold. Okay? That's rattled some cages in the central banks and the Federal Reserve and all these gold hoarders that have been giving us, as Putin says, candy wrappers to trade back and forth, and we don't have any gold. John, yeah, they won't be able to walk down the street. You heard AOC. She said, I can't even walk down the street. You're right, you can't. I called her a streetwalker. She can walk down the street, all right. Okay, I'm just seeing what's going on in the chats. And Jackson brings up a good point. There's a lot of changes being made in the military. This might end up being the best time to join. Not only that, I told a friend of mine, if I were younger, and young people ought to think about this, there's going to be opportunities coming in the medical fields, because there's going to be doctors that once their work is reviewed, guess what? They're going to be told you're not a doctor anymore, and you never will be. Okay? And the same thing for the law profession. Some of these lawyers I see doing videos that say the most divisive and slanderous and libelous things, not only about Mr. T, but about his supporters. Those people are not going to be considered attorneys anymore, in my opinion. Not only have they breached, in my opinion, ethics, but I think they have breached areas of the law concerning libel and slander. And they should not, a law degree, member of the bar, an officer of the court is a position of public trust. So is a physician's license. And people that are engaging in this kind of behavior should not be permitted to hold a position of public trust. So there's going to be a lot of openings. I'm going to put that up there, Jax. I think it is a good time to take a look at the military if you're a young person, and also to explore the law, the field of law and medicine, because and reporting. There's going to be a lot of openings. Okay, let's see. A lot of blackouts in Ukraine, that's right. Oops, I put one that's up. Let's see. These things are touchy. So anyway, I appreciate y'all spending your time with me. I'm just going through the chit chats here, and I put a banner up. If you want to support the channel, I got a link in the description. And if you could leave a thumbs up and a comment after the video, that helps it get around. And anyway, you can support me and help me get my word out, because we want our friends to understand what's happening, and we want to tell them things in a rational way. If you get some kind of thing where you feel, you know, I know there's a spiritual end to this, but I don't go into, you know, like I open a closet and find a demon, you know, or that, you know, they fly around. I don't get into that. Okay. You want to keep it as real as possible, especially when you're dealing with your friends. Anyway, I'll talk about that some other time. I appreciate y'all's time, and I will be posting again in the future. And this is Mountain Man, over and out.